We would like to acknowledge that this podcast was recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri and Boon Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We value their cultures, identities, and continuing connection to country, waters, kin, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. James, listen, mate, listen. This is important. A young woman called Diana Spencer married Prince Charles. John McEnroe shouted, "You can't be serious!" At Wimbledon, the first DeLorean rolled off the production line in Northern Ireland. Britain got hit by 105 tornadoes in a single night. The first test tube baby was born. We watched Dust Boot and Smokey Bites the Dust. I'm Rich.
I'm James.
And that's popcorn. Crikey.
Their behaviour's not good.
I'm to stop you now, right there, because
The Swapties.
One lamb kebab.
I've abandoned my child!
Now, give me money.
So tell me, who sent you?
Listen, mate, this is important.
Now it's been out.
Oh, survivors.
I thought you were real.
Hello.
Hi!
Hi.
Hi!
Hi, guys. Hi. Welcome to another episode of That's Popcorn. That's how we do it now. That's how we do
Yes.
it. Welcome to episode 6. Episode 6 of That's Popcorn. How you going, James?
Good. I can't believe it's 6 eps already.
Right? That's 5 more than I thought we'd get to.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we watched some crackers of a films this week. I don't even know where to begin. 1981, hey, what a year.
Yeah, what were you doing in 1981, Richard?
I was a mere wisp of thought.
Yes,
in the wind of my parents' thoughts mind. I don't know.
You're a little sparkle in your father's eye.
That's right. That's where I was. And then 7 years later, here I am. Yeah, 1981. Shall we crack into it?
I think we can crack into the crackers.
We've got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the good film this week, which is Das Boot. So that was the trailer of Dust Boot. What do you think of Dust Boot, James?
I thought it was very good. Richard, I do need to ask, did you have any idea what Dust Boot was before you watched it?
I knew it was about some sort of naval vessel, as I think the previous episode would allude. That I was like, is it a submarine? Is it a boat? I don't know. But,
Yeah, okay.
That was about as much as I knew, really.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't about a boot.
Yep.
That much I knew.
Ruled that one out early.
Pretty certain it was a submarine film. But even though it's obviously a German film with the German title, didn't know it was about Germans. Like, very rarely do you see sort of a World War II film from the German side of things.
Yeah.
Because of obvious reasons.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting how they like straddled the line of being sympathetic to these men in a submarine, whilst still acknowledging that they are Nazis.
Yes.
They are very Nazi. They are extremely Nazis. Well, I mean, like, you know, maybe not ideologically. You can't really get into it, but they
I wouldn't
are.
say extremely. Like, I think there was enough, like, there where it's just like, we're just doing our job. Kind of hate the people making these decisions. But
it doesn't. It doesn't really talk about ideologies of like.
No, there's like hardly any like obvious Nazi-ness to it, like so much to the point where you get sort of half an hour in and you're just watching people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really ties it all together, because otherwise you'd be like, boo,
Yeah.
2 hours, or I think maybe for you 3 hours.
Yes, I watched the director's cut, and James, you watched some other person's cut.
I watched the Best Boys cut.
Yes, the sandwich maker's cut.
The key grip cut.
Yeah, which is an hour shorter than mine. And the thing is, I thought I was watching the 2.5 hour one, and then I just checked the timestamp, like what I thought was almost near the end, and I'm like, oh no, I've still got like an hour and a half to go. But it's still a good film. There's even a longer cut, which they made into like a telly series, which is like 4 hours and 50 minutes or something.
And I was reading about it, like there were scenes that they wanted to do that didn't make it because of time constraints. And it was like, well, what were these time constraints they had? Because there's just endless cuts of this film.
Yeah. The preferred cut is like a real time, like Jack Bauer 24 style, the entire World War II from start to finish, from Hitler's birth to his death, just all in real time. Takes about 47 years to watch. Dust Proof.
What do you think?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was. The first thing I wrote down was this movie is tense, pretty much the entire film.
Just a bit.
Yeah, if you're not worrying about a submarine like imploding on itself, you're worrying about like what someone's going to do. I guess like you're worried about like what the captain's going to do now. Can we trust him? What's going on? Oh my god. But yeah, it is really. It's really clever how it makes you sort of sympathetic and almost root for these guys whilst they're being like attacked by the Allied forces. And you're like, no, sink that English ship.
Yeah, that's it. You're almost cheering. It's like, yeah, they got that ship. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
What did I just cheer for?
Yeah. And I think it does that by like, there's a scene, I guess spoilers. I never put that up front. But spoilers coming up.
If you're watching or listening to a podcast talking about films, you know what you're doing.
That's right. I've said it before.
Hey, we watch these movies in a week, and you can too.
That's right. If you haven't watched it by now, then that's your own fault. Especially considering this one came out in 1981. So, although I do, I am sympathetic because it does go for 47 years. It's clever how so there's a scene halfway through the film or so where they are stocking up for fuel and provisions in Spain. At least in my cut, there is.
Yes, I got that as well.
And the whole show is going to be me checking that we have the same scenes.
Yes.
And they go onto this like boat in the middle of Spain, and there's like this feast put on by the Nazis there. Did you?
Yes.
Yes. So I just found that really interesting because they're like all dressed up. And they're all like, yes, all the Heil Hitler bullshit. And then they just like rock up in their like submarine gear and they're just getting all the food and stuff. And it's just this sort of like disconnect with like the pretentiousness of these like high end Nazis, which is a phrase I never thought I'd say.
No, it is, you're spot on. And it's sort of even at the start, like, when they're having the big party before they go off to sea. Even then, like, there was obviously a disconnect between the people who were, tasked with going on these boats and doing the things and the people who were telling them to do it, which is like the classic story, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the movie starts with them driving past them and getting the car pissed on by by all these Nazis on the way to this party, which I got to say, Nazis can party. Nazis.
Holy moly.
Oh, wow. That
I was watching that. I'm like, I want to be at this party. Like, everyone was so super drunk. And I'm like, man, it's been so long since I saw anyone like that.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I wanted to have been at that party. I felt like I didn't want to be there in the moment. I wanted to be like, yes, I was there. like it was just, there's just so much going on. A dude like whips out a gun at the end and almost kills everyone. Like, it's insane what happens at this party. And it's like this long, like one shot almost, where they're just going around on the camera, which was done in 1981, which is incredible.
Yeah, it was like before Steadicam existed.
Yeah, but it felt like I was watching Trainspotting or something. that party scene.
Yeah, it looks like a fun party. And like that captain on the other boat is somehow the most charismatic guy, even though in my cut he was only at the start. I understand in the longer cut he's in it a little bit more, or reference to.
Yeah, they surface at some point and they see another submarine, and it's apparently his submarine, but you don't see him. Like, they just like wave at him and they flash their like their Morse code lights at each other or something, like two mates going, "Hey, how you going?" It's really it's quite cute actually.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, that's
nice.
Thompson. Oh, good." And then he comes down from the top after being like so happy to see his mate, and his mood is instantly different, and he's like so pissed off because he's like there's only 12 boats in this entire ocean and we run into another one or something, and I'm like, wow, what happened halfway down the chute?
Well, I mean, the claustrophobia in that submarine would just bring down any mood. Like, you could be the happiest person in the world, and then as soon as you're like, oh god, I'm in here again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That sinking scene where they're just going down and down and down.
Yeah, and they're just like trying to boost it up, and you're watching the thing and you're like, ah!
And they're just sweating. Everyone's just sweating all the time in this movie. Yeah. There must be like one person whose role is dedicated to just with like a spritzer to just be like
well,
everyone.
I know they filmed this in sequence.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of not really done anymore, or wasn't even done then. But you can tell because every actor looks haggard by the end of it. Like, they're like, yep, they've spent a long time in this submarine. The beards are real. They have not seen the sun in years.
Yeah. Well, it said something about like they tried to keep them as indoors as much as possible as well because of that, to try and like get them to look as pale and awful. I'm like, that's lovely. That's really nice.
Because they look awful.
Did you read the fact that the captain is actually meant to be like 30 years old?
Wow.
And I'm like, man, submarines, they ravage you.
They put a lot of extra wrinkles on you.
Do an opposite of the Portrait of Dorian Gray on you.
The other interesting thing I read is like they filmed it in the submarine set, but they had to film it silently because the cameras made too much noise and echo and stuff. So all the dialogue's like dubbed over.
And I did not pick up that when I was watching it.
I did not notice at all.
Which like people can't even do well now. So like,
yeah,
how they managed to do it.
Maybe because like they were speaking German and I was reading the subtitles, I didn't notice as much. That could be it, but in any case, I'm like, that's amazing. That's a big feat.
Yeah. Speaking of big feet, no, I've got no segue from that.
I was hoping for something. Not a lot of feet in this movie. You don't see many feet.
Yeah, no,
which is
not
good
really.
if you don't like feet.
Yeah, I mean, they're always there because they have to like curb their scurvy as well, and I think that's why they're always having lemons. Did you see that?
Yes.
They're just like always eeating lemons. Is it scurvy? Is that?
Yeah,
right?
That's the one.
Yeah,
lack of vitamin C, I believe.
Mm.
Which is weird because you get it at sea. That doesn't make sense.
The shots of them going back and forth on the submarine, is that like a thing? Because are they trying to wait it out with like their own bodies? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. I think they're just trying to get in their 10,000 steps.
couch to 10K in the submarine.
That's it.
But they're amazing because there are the more of these kind of like one take shots and kind of just going through like the tunnels of the submarine essentially. And there's bits where they've hidden like edits in, I think they've hidden edits in smoke and stuff. And I'm like, how did they envisage this in 1981? Like, you can't just do like a previs sort of like CGI run through or anything. They had to like really think about how everything happens.
Yeah.
And you see that like throughout the film, like even in the start, in the party scene, like how it's all framed, and like even when they're getting on the submarine at the start and they've got them all lined up, like there's all this action in the background and all that's like lit perfectly and stuff, so it contrasts the stuff at the front. And I'm just like, this film is
really good.
It's worth the 93, 96 or whatever it got on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, absolutely. I don't doubt that. This is the first of the good films I've rewatched that I hadn't seen, and very quickly I'm like, how have I not seen this? How has everyone I know not seen this? Everyone should watch this movie. Like it's ramped right up there. It's like, this is an incredible piece of film work. The story, like the tension, it's what movies are meant to be.
Definitely. And it depoliticizes war in a way. Like it shows sort of how useless, how wasteful I think war is. Like you've got the characters kind of, pining back for their loved ones back at home and stuff. And there's like the chief who's showing all these like really cute photos of him and his wife like skiing.
Yeah, the snow.
I'm like, oh my God.
It just looks so nice. It's like, wait.
Nazis.
Enemy. They're the baddies. That's right.
Yeah.
They're Nazis. I was like, oh man, I reckon I'd be friends with that guy.
Right?
But,
and like, but the thing is like, even though they're Nazis, oh God, here we go. But like in the sinking scene, right? The chief pretty much like saves the day, and so everyone has to. He pretty much comes out and he's like, "There's a way I can fix this. It's going to take about 6 to 9 hours." And the captain, rightly so, is like, "How much oxygen have we got?" Have we got enough oxygen? And he's like, nah. so everyone has to wear the oxygen masks and go to sleep, which I assume means they use less oxygen. I don't know.
That's it. Stop doing your steps, guys. You need to conserve.
Turn your apps off. Did you notice there's one guy who's just got his thumb in his mouth as they're panning across? I was like, did they run out of masks? But yeah, he takes it on himself to like pretty much fix everything. It takes like 15 hours.
Like
or something.
even when he like fixes the engines, like the engine's up and running, he's like, "Oh, great, this is great." And he's like, "Just a few more things to do." Yeah. And he goes back and does more. This guy is a hero. Yeah,
you feel his exhaustion and everything. You feel like, yes, you've really achieved something. You've like these people have really like fought really hard to make this massive achievement of like saving this ship. And they're Nazis.
That's it.
Damn it.
And then, like, at the end, we said spoiler alert, so we can talk about this.
Yes.
At the end, they make it to where they need to go in Italy, and then they get bombed, and you're like, boo!
Yeah, you're like, boo!
It's like, this is so unfortunate, made it all this way, but they got bombed by us, the good guys.
Yeah.
So you're like, boo! Not them. What they just went through, this isn't fair.
Go Nazi. Oh, damn it. Damn it, Das Boot.
Because, apparently when it first screened, it had its premiere, and at the start there's a little write-up that says, 40 to 50,000 Nazis went in these U-boats, and, hardly any of them returned alive. And apparently when it happened, everyone cheered in the movie. It's like, yeah, boo Nazis. But then by the end of it, everyone's like, yeah, good.
Yeah. Good. But I read that too. But then I like that because that trivia is put in the context of saying, but we actually liked this film because it represented represented, people well or whatever. But the film does end with all the Nazis losing still. Like, so they could be just cheering, going, "Oh, finally they've gotten bombed."
Yeah. That's it. I sat for 3 hours just trying to watch Nazis die.
Yeah, when that boat was imploding and it didn't like fully implode, I was so upset.
Very good. I do have a question about submarines.
Yeah.
Would you ever go on a submarine?
As long as it wasn't underwater.
That's it, because I discovered a new fear that I didn't know I had, and that's being trapped underwater in a submarine.
Yeah.
So it'd be very unfortunate if somehow I end up in that predicament.
Well, I mean, stage 4 lockdowns, that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I've had this sinking feeling. Yeah.
Wake up, sheeple. That is satire. Don't write me.
I did see, because the theme music to Das Boot is pretty stirring. It's a good theme. It was remixed in the early 90s into like a rave track, and it went really well.
What?
Yeah, like you could go to Berghain in 1992 and hear a remixed version of U571, and U571, different submarine movie, Das Boot. and it was a huge rave bang. It's not very good.
It's not very good.
It's not very. I listened to it and was like, "Oh, this is trash," but people seem to love it. U571, another submarine movie, which I had seen prior to this one, not nearly as good, and has Bon Jovi in it.
Well, that's different.
Yeah.
What's Bon Jovi's role? He's the submarine. They all pile into Bon Jovi's mouth.
All right, so submarine. Like, am I right here when you talk about a sandwich, like a sub? That's short for submarine?
No, I think it's short for sublet.
That's not true. You totally made that up. I think it's like a submarine.
Yeah, because it looks like one.
Watched this movie and went,
"Yum!
Oh, that looks like my lunch."
like to sink my teeth into that because of sinking. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
There was a nice line. I can't remember when it came up in the film, but I did write it down, where he just said, "All you need is good people," and I was like, "Oh," but I can't remember the context.
That is nice.
I think the captain says it towards the end of the film, I want to say. But I could be wrong. But how did you feel about Johan, the engine room guy who was on?
Man, his eyes were bananas. like even right at the start, before he sort of went a bit nutso, I was like, he's got something in him. He's a crazy man. You can tell by these bulging eyeballs, and then he does go a bit bananas.
Yeah, he gets like the bends or something.
Shell shock.
Yeah, freaks out. But then he redeems himself, and I was like, "Oh, Johan, my bro." And then like you don't see him again until the very end of the film when he's dead. It's a shot of him to be like, so the audience can be like, "Hey, you remember that guy that you're really happy about redeeming himself? Yeah, he did."
Yeah, he did.
He did. Remember the captain? Oh, yeah, he's going to watch his submarine sink, and then he did. The chief gets away.
Yeah, he does.
That's good.
I can't remember the one, because there's the one character in it who is a bit too Nazi, like the young guy, the really first
prissy
man,
the prissy guy that sounds like a robot.
Number one.
Yeah. Hello, I am a Nazi. Welcome to my world. Hello.
Yeah, didn't like him.
Nah.
No,
he's actually the only one I noticed was dubbed. Like the voice just didn't match at all.
That's didn't like him, and he's sort of like the epitome of what you think of when you see like Nazi. You just like, oh yeah, very clean cut. Everyone else has his big straggly beards, wearing like all their woolenness.
Yeah.
And he's just like dressed proper, and you're like, shut up, you're in a submarine.
Yeah, he's like the only one who actually shaves for most of it.
Yeah.
Except maybe towards the end a little bit.
Yeah, why would you? My sister told me an interesting fact. So the pom-pom was invented for people on submarines so they wouldn't hit their heads. pom pom and a beanie.
Ah.
Yeah, so
I
you
thought you meant
go,
like
"Ooh."
the cheerleader pom-pom.
Maybe that too.
Yeah. Oh, ow, yeah, ah. Oh,
It's
there's
a
the
long
edge. Here
way
we
to
go.
Tipperary.
We are still sinking. Why can't we go up? Oh.
Yeah, great movie. I am keen to watch the longer version, which I never thought I would say because I felt very soggy even after just watching the shorter version that I did. Like halfway through, I'm like, I need a towel, especially when they're up on like the tower part at the top of the submarine and the water's just like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, my feet feel damp,
Yeah.
even though I am very dry.
Those tower scenes though, they do look a little bit like a sitcom or like Gilligan's Island or something.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, this movie is so realistic, but when they're on the tower and they all just keep sort of popping up.
It's like Star Trek.
Like,
Whoa.
I don't know why this looks so dumb. I can't put my finger on it, but I can tell that this isn't real. Where the rest of it, I was like totally immersed.
Oh, yeah. And the way they did it was they pretty much just built a submarine and filmed inside of it.
Yeah.
And there was like a fact about the way they did those long takes where they're like running around with the camera, like Steadicams didn't exist. So they had to like build like a gyroscope style Steadicam, I guess, for this movie. It's just insane how much effort they put into it. The sound guy, the guy that sits at the radio and listens for things and puts on the tunes as well, is definitely, I think, the most important man in the submarine. And I don't know why they only have one of him. Like, when does he sleep?
It's like, all right, radio's
he's also the
off.
medic.
I'm going to sleep. He's the real hero in this movie.
Right?
Okay, so I spoke about U571. Are there any other submarine films that you have seen?
I've seen Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Yes, true.
I haven't seen Yellow Submarine, the Beatles. Is that
cartoon.
A film?
I don't think it's about a submarine per se.
I've seen the court transcript of Jared from Subway.
Wow.
Different one. Subway. Wait a second. So it's called Subway, which is about trains, right?
Yeah.
But then
the sub's a
the
submarine.
Oh
man, this warrants a whole other podcast, I reckon.
Yeah. Welcome to That Subway. That's submarine.
That sandwich.
That sandwich. Oh, what a better podcast that would be. We could just talk about sandwiches for an hour. Could do that.
Oh man. Would. But yeah, because I also watched A Hunt for Red October quite recently. Mm-hmm. Another submarine, very good submarine film. Not as good as this one, but still up there. And I also watched Down Periscope quite recently, which is a comedy, which, you know, could almost be in line for a future bad film.
Oh, yeah.
It's got Kelsey Grammer as the submarine captain.
Great.
But yeah, the one scene that I always remember is with the sound guy who's like listening in, and there's like another submarine that, you know, is hunting for them, and so they need to work out how to like pretend they're not a submarine, and so he starts making whale noises. And it's just and that scene has always stuck with me.
Would it work? They were getting everyone to be quiet on the submarine when they were trying to hide, so maybe it would work. I'm not a submarine.
I'm Nemo. That's what they say. I tried to think of a quote real quickly from Finding Nemo. None.
I'm Nemo.
Where's Nemo? I'm just not a submarine. I'm just looking for my son.
Can't find him anywhere.
I've also seen 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, another submarine movie, and I saw that very young, and I thought that at some point in my life there was a big risk of a giant squid being part of something that I had to deal with. I was like, oh man, I don't want to be an adult
Yeah.
Giant squids,
Giant squids
gonna get
everywhere.
me. It's just that chance.
Little did you know that the giant squid in your life was a metaphor. You still tackle with that giant squid every day.
That's right.
It's a giant squid of your mind.
Yep.
Have you seen? There's another Sean Connery because Sean Connery's in Hunt for Red October, isn't he?
He is.
Is that a Jack Ryan film?
It is a Jack Ryan film
Alec Baldwin
with Alec Baldwin.
as the
all
eponymous
the things. It should
Jack
be a
Ryan.
mastermind theme.
Yeah. Submarine films or
Oh,
Jack
actually,
Ryan.
right. Bon Jovi was in this one.
Have you seen the Sean Connery film? I feel like it was like The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Gentleman.
It's like a really bad kind of superhero film. And then there's
I have not.
Is it Captain Nemo? And
Yes.
he has the Nautilus, I think, and it's like I think that's a big submarine, isn't it? There you go. There's
That was the
submarine
one
film.
from. Yeah, I think that was the one from 20,000. Is it 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? Yeah, let's say it's 20,000.
I wanted to ask, why did they not mention the Führer in Spain? Do you remember that scene where he's like, start talking about the Führer, and he's like, no, we're in Spain.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, was it because? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that, and I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
I guess Spain. Oh, maybe they were worried that people were going to be listening
and not realize that they're Nazis.
Well, I mean, they weren't meant to be there. It was like a hidden thing. Because, yeah. And so, yeah, maybe that was it. So just like, I don't know why they just didn't mention it about someone else. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How's the boss? What's the boss up to these days?
Well, they're just like, our illustrious Frederick, our mate, is what I was saying. Another thing I didn't notice, another thing I saw is on YouTube, there's like the behind the scenes DVD extras for Dust Boot, and I watched a couple of them, and it's the captain from the movie. I don't know why that took me forever.
The captain from Captain Snooze.
Captain.
With his little jaunty hat.
Yeah. So it's the captain, and he's touring around the submarine. And there's two things. One thing which was actually pointed out in the film, but I'd missed, and another thing that wasn't. First one that was pointed out in the film was that there are two toilets on the submarine, but one isn't used because it's just filled with provisions. Did you see that? I thought that was like, there's like 45 people or something on that submarine. They all have to use the one toilet, so that's full on. The other one is not in the film, but every time they fire a torpedo, it frees up extra space in the barracks.
Of course.
And there are like fold up beds on the side. And so every time they fire a torpedo, another bed becomes available. So I feel like there's this like real want by everyone in that submarine to fire as many torpedoes as possible so they can have more space.
They're not even like trying to hunt the enemy. They just want somewhere to lie down.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, what was that? Oh, who cares? Fire at it.
Get him.
Get him. I want to stretch my legs.
Better make sure this one's down.
Yeah, I'm sick of bloody sharing with Helmet over there. Do you have anything more to say about Das Boot?
I think I've said my piece. Great film. Watch it.
Great film. At the snack bar at the cinema, what would you give Das Boot?
Oh, that is all the things that you want and enjoy.
All of the above. Smorgasbord. A smorgasbord of Das Boot.
Smorgasbord. Yeah.
Fun fact: Das Boot is an anagram of smorgasbord. Don't check it.
That's actually the captain's surname in Das Boot.
Captain Smorgasbord.
Captain Smorgasbord. And it was shortened to Captain Smorgies.
Captain Smorgies.
And that's where the chain of once successful restaurants came from.
Just once.
Just once.
Just one time. They had one success. Yeah. It's Smorgasbord. I highly recommend Das Boot. Go see it now. It's on SBS On Demand in the 2.5 hour version. Yes. And the director's cut you can find elsewhere, I guess. Das Boot. What else did we watch? We watched another film for which the trailer will appear or be heard now.
It's Jimmy McNichol. He's got the law in a pickle. Keep your mind on the game. Homecoming Queen Peggy Sue's about to be snatched.
Roscoe, are you trying to abduct me?
Feeling my daughter. And her daddy, the sheriff, is out for the catch, and Smokey bites the dust.
How long are you planning to hold me against my will?
Until you like it.
What if we don't catch them at all? Make way for the biggest comedy crack-up of the year.
Oh, I like the big ones.
Jimmy McNichol shifts into gear, then turns the county on its ear.
Like this?
Oh, yes, that's very good.
Boldly go where no man has gone before.
Come back here!
Over hills, through tight spots, soft shoulders. Jimmy McNichol takes on the Mounties and leaves a path of destruction through 17 counties. Smokey bites the dust. The first comedy made expressly for the insane.
James, that was the trailer for Smokey Bites the Dust.
Yes.
What a film. What a... Yep.
Well,
How do we...
film. I mean, I feel like this might be where we need to define film, because this was pretty much a clip show.
Yep.
With barely a starter and ending.
Yeah. Yeah,
Can you try to
crash.
explain what the movie is?
Okay, so Smokey Bites the Dust is about Jimmy McNichol's character, Roscoe Wilson?
Yeah, sounds
Something
good.
like that, whatever. Roscoe Wilson, Jimmy McNichol. And he is a high school student who, for some reason, is running from the cops in a car at the start of the film.
Yeah.
And the cop in the car is Smokey. Is the eponymous Smokey.
No, because did
Is
they
he?
call him Smokey?
He did.
Oh, did he?
Roscoe did right at the start. He's like, "Hey, Smokey, how you going?"
Because
And then
I thought that too, but then they were calling him something else in
Sheriff?
the rest of it. The sheriff and his name, I assume. And so the whole film, I was like, who's Smokey?
I mean, we should preface that this has no connection at all to any of the other Smokey films, like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, I incorrectly did assume last episode that this was in the Smokey and the Bandit universe.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just using that success. It would be like if we created a very low budget film about a wizard and just called it Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah.
And we just made it, and everyone's like, "Oh, cool, new Harry Potter movie." Nah, it's just us screwing about.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, so there's this high school student, Roscoe Wilton. I've got it up now, Roscoe Wilton. The sheriff's name is Sheriff Turner. So I don't know if Smokey is like a nickname that Roscoe has given him, or if it has any. I'm already tired talking about it. But yeah, I like right at the start, the sheriff, let's call him Smokey, is drinking from alcohol that's like hidden, stashed away in his visor, and it's got this like, this is probably the most detailed like point of the film. And I was like, this is where it starts. I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat what they're doing here. It's got this musical sting when he like drinks from the alcohol, puts it away. Then it comes back and it goes. I'm like, that's great. That's wonderful. I hope the rest of this film is like this quirky and no, that's it. That's it.
That's yeah, like I wasn't sure if he was drinking or actually that was like a little instrument that he had in the car. Instead of a siren, he just has a little like flute that is
like a
hooked through his car.
piper. Yeah. But yeah, so then he chases Roscoe back to where they're preparing for homecoming, and then we're introduced to Peggy Sue, who is the love interest of the film. Notwithstanding, I think before then, does the sheriff crash his car before then? And inexplicably, a woman who, like, very well endowed woman, pushes a pumpkin out of a window that lands on top of the car. And I don't know how, because there's no windows above where the car crashes. But all of a sudden, there's just like a pumpkin on top of the car. I think I can explain it because I read that there was like a few interviews with people that worked on the film, and there was a guy that tried to write a script for it because apparently they'd filmed all of the car crashes.
They had all the footage lying around, and they're just like, all right, write a movie around this existing footage and we'll make a lot of money.
Yeah. So they probably went, why is there a pumpkin on the car? And they're like, oh crap, we're going to have to put some sort of scene in where there's a pumpkin pushed out. And that's the only reason. But yeah, then he heads to the football ground. I don't know if you noticed this, but he jumps over the bench and definitely almost stacks. I watched it like 5 times in a row on slow-mo because his toe just clips the edge and he just regains enough composure to land, but he was about this close to just face planting, which would have been a better film.
It is absolutely evident that there were no retakes in this at all. It was like, yep, that was great. Next scene. I reckon it was probably shot in a day.
That's right. It probably was. Yeah. Have you noticed his did you see at the start his disguise was to just go over to a statue and change his jumper
and change his shirt
and then tap the cop on the shoulder as he walked past?
Yeah.
Effective.
I was like, all right, this is a car chase film. This should be fun. And then that first car chase was all filmed on the same block. So he like goes around the corner, speeds around there, and then the cops chasing him there, and then you see it go off camera, and then it comes back at the start of that same street and just does. And I'm like, wow, they obviously only have permission to close off one street, so they just had to get.
He's just
not
a great
even
driver.
Slightly creative. They just move the camera a bit that way, and it'll look like a different street.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Nah. Well, you're too distracted by all the pumpkins in the shot to care.
That's possibly also true.
Did you see the fake snake?
Yes.
Why?
That's how snakes move.
It's so slow too. It's just. Oh, man.
There was that very odd scene in the motel when Peggy Sue needs to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Yeah. And they end up going into a room.
The drunk bellhop or something.
Yeah, with the drunk bellhop, there is a gorilla in the bed.
Yeah, what? That makes noises?
Yeah. It's just asleep, and then at one point it goes, ugh, and then that's it. That's all you see of the gorilla.
Yep.
They end up taking the suitcase full of money from the bank robber, and then
they don't
open it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, they open it up and they see all the cash, and then that's the end of it. I thought this is going to be where the movie's going. Yep. So now the bank robber's going to chase after him. So, no, that's never alluded to again. And at that moment, I was getting very Codename the Cleaner vibes. I'm like, hotel room, suitcase full of money.
Yep.
I've seen this.
It's just off camera. Cedric's in the gorilla costume.
Yeah, that was that, and then the rest of the film is just car chases. It's not even really car chases, just car crashes, I guess.
And some of them are violent car crashes. Like, people died in this film. Every car crash seems to just crumple the cabin and like nothing else. So it's like, just so you know, car's fine, everyone inside is dead. Every car crash.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I did find the character of the 5-year-old in the leather jacket that was like real tough guy was rad. Like with the young girl that's smoking the cigarettes.
Yeah, at the end.
And then the little kid comes along. He's like, but man, this kid's style. He's got swagger.
Oh man. Everyone sounds drunk in this film. I thought, just like in particular, Peggy Sue, who just sounds like she sounds high, like all the time. She's like, whoa.
I dare say that was probably the case.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. What did you think of the NFL game, the American football game that they had?
Yeah, that was something. I did like the jock character.
Yeah. Who just
who calls God coach.
Yeah.
Just give me a sign, coach. I'm like, that's creative. Yeah. I like that. I thought that was actually a pretty good character.
And then he gets out of his truck or his car or whatever and lies on the ground only to get run over by a doctor who has the weirdest accent of any character. He's like, are you all right? I'm a doctor. And he's like, I need your car. And he's like, kiss mine, I think is what he says. Or you say, it's mine? Because then he says, watch your language, and then like spear tackles him. And then the doctor's just sitting on the ground and he's like, I've been had. What? Oh my God.
The genius of the writing, I think, is really summed up when the guy's like, oh yeah, these guys are going to give me 1 million clams. And then it turns out it's clams. Like, it's not money.
Yep.
They give him actual clams.
Yeah.
But I'm like, 1 million clams would probably be worth more than $1 million.
Potentially.
You could make it.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd probably go off.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to cook them up real quick.
The overheads on selling 1 million clams is a lot. It's going to affect your bottom line.
Yeah, you can make it work.
What you didn't mention though is the they that you're referring to is 3 incredibly racist performances of Arabian men. Who's one of them's? I'm just looking at the character names in the.
Do you have the name? Yep.
So we've got three characters, right? We've got short Arab, tall Arab, and Abu Habib Bibubu. That's the character names. So you can take from that how much care they've given to this sign of diversity.
They're all dressed like Aladdin.
Yeah, they're like three wise men from a nativity scene.
I don't think a lot of care went into this film on like, okay, let's make sure we depict these minorities with as much respect as we can. No, that conversation was not had.
No.
It's like,
they're about 7 pumpkins deep at that point. And they're like, no care.
We got no time. We have time and budget constraints.
Maybe he got paid 1 million pumpkins, and this was how he had to use those pumpkins up.
That's it. So there's another probably sequel to this where the cars are just getting covered in clams.
That's right. It's clams everywhere. It's a woman in the window just throwing clams out.
Just dropping clams. These clams.
Oh, man.
You pointed it out earlier. I mean, how different could this be from Das Boot, which was filmed sequentially? This film was filmed a few years beforehand, parts of it, because it was just like the outtakes from other films, and then they just put a framing device around it, which, I mean, personally, I think a better framing device could have just been Burt Newton saying, oh, here's another 10 car crashes. And that probably would have been a better film. Yeah,
50-1 car crashes.
50-1 car crashes.
On file.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think a film like this would ever exist anymore, because those outtakes would be just put on YouTube, chuck an ad on it. That's how you get your advertising dollars. But in 1981, they didn't have that as an option. So like, all right, we can either just leave this footage sitting around doing nothing, or we can hastily chuck something together and put it in a couple of cinemas, and it's free money. And that's what they did. And for that, good on them.
Good on them. They invented YouTube.
All right, that's maybe how we'll make our million clams. Let's just get all the cat videos on YouTube and somehow turn it into a film.
Oh, yeah. Put a framing device around that.
Yeah, you'll have to edit this out because people will steal the idea.
That's true. Or maybe this is the framing device. I'll just put this in between.
Here's a cat.
There's a cat over there. I'm pointing for those listening in audio only. I felt like those two kids at the end of the film watching the fight, like the stupidest fight scene ever. Like I felt like those two kids were the audience, just being like, "What is this film? What is happening?" And they're just having a dart.
Like, they're like nine years old.
Yeah,
I did like. There was the guy in it at the football game who was the father of the other guy that was chasing them, who is that fairly famous actor whose name I can't remember, but he's in everything. His name is Joe something.
Do you mean Drew Barrymore's older brother?
What?
So Harold, that owns the black convertible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Drew Barrymore's older brother, who is, I think, John something Barrymore? John Blythe Barrymore.
No way.
Yeah. And
that
so when I was looking up him,
a fun fact.
One of the things that he is credited with, and I was very like close to going down an absolute hole looking into all of this stuff, but he's credited for an hour-long YouTube monologue as part of a bigger show called Lasagna Cat, which is like a reflection on like a kind of alt comedy reflection on Garfield. And the whole episode is just an hour-long monologue about Pipe Garfield, which is this one strip of Garfield which ends with Garfield smoking a pipe. And apparently that was the influence for Too Many Cooks by Adult Swim. You know, that 30-minute like sitcom comedy thing. Yes. I haven't watched
fantastic.
The whole hour-long monologue, but I've skimmed through it. It looks pretty amazing.
That is the best fact I have heard in a very long time. And forget, because I mean, no other actors in this film other than the guy that I mentioned are anything. The guy that I mentioned, I'm trying to find his name on IMDb, but I can't find it. But it was in like Gremlins 2.
Oh, so who are you talking about then?
That guy's dad. So Drew Barrymore's brother's father. Just trying, and you'd know him if you saw him. He's in lots of stuff. He's in like the Twilight Zone movie. Very, very sort of popular character actor, and I think he was in sort of a lot of Roger Corman's films, like maybe they were buddies or something. But I can't find who he is. I don't want to spend this entire podcast just me clicking through IMDb. Okay, his name is Dick Miller. And yeah, he's in lots of things. He's got like a really familiar face. I think, I don't know if this is something that I dreamt. No, I dreamt it because it's not on IMDb. Never mind. But yeah, lots of stuff. You definitely would have seen him before.
Dick Miller, 1928 to 2019. Just passed away last year in January.
Oh, that's a shame.
R.I.P. Dick Miller. 90 years old.
That's a good run.
Janet Julian, who plays Peggy Sue, is now Janet Lansbury and has I don't know if I want to say lucrative career because I can't really judge it, but she releases childcare books and has a podcast. So, hello, Janet Lansbury, fellow podcaster.
Hello, I'm sure that there's somebody in the world that listens to both her and our podcast.
Yeah, it'll be one of us.
Or maybe it's old mate Jimmy Bennett. Listening in from Ireland.
Jimmy, how you going, Jimmy?
How you going, Jimmy? How's How's the childcare podcast going?
Jimmy and Janet, the childcare podcast. It's great. Did you hear the music during the fight scene between the footballer and Harold?
I do not recall.
It was like a spooky choir. It was just going like I'm like, what is happening? Meanwhile, like,
Oh, hi,
they're
Kenny.
just murdering each other in this fight scene. There's one particular move which was quite like, I was like, wow, where Roscoe like fully like WrestleMania style jumps on top of the footballer character, like legs spread akimbo, like onto his shoulders, you know, like that wrestling move where they pull him down, and I'm just like, and then he like twists and like flips him about. I'm like, what's happened? Who made him John Wick all of a sudden? This is insane. Yeah.
Did you? I imagine you watched this on YouTube.
Yes,
as I did. There was obviously the scene in the start of the football game where the music was licensed, so the sound just cut out.
I thought
for
that
a couple of minutes. And I was like, and I think I missed a pivotal scene because there was the guy that smashes into the garbage can, just goes, oh! And then like smashes his head into a trash can. I'm like, oh no, I don't have any context behind that. This isn't going to make any sense.
Yeah.
But I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, I wonder what song it was. And we'll never know.
It was Jesus Walks by Kanye West.
Yeah, it checks out.
Yeah. There is like about a minute and a half of audio that we lose in the YouTube version, and I did have to have like an argument with myself, going, do I try and find a better version, or do I not care enough? And I'm glad I went with the second one, because by the end of this film, I was just like tapping right at some points, being like, just get through it, just get to the end. Oh.
Yeah, it's trash. I did read some of the reviews on IMDb, and there's people giving this 8 stars. 8. Like, how possibly? Like, this film is worse than Fatal Deviation.
Oh,
because I'm going to say it, because Fatal Deviation, at least behind all the cheapness and just garbageness of it, there was somebody who set out to do what they wanted.
That's right.
And like, he was using that as, you know, this is going to be my step into Hollywood. I'm going to show everyone the fighting skills that I've got. Good on him. The purpose of this film was literally, we've got a pile of stock footage, let's make some money off it. So it was literally just to make money from idiots like us.
Well, joke's on them. We watch it on YouTube and we don't get that licensed music. So joke's on us. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Fatal Deviation had some care and love behind it. This, on the other hand, I can't justify. It's not a good film.
It's very bad. Although when I was watching it, I did think, if I ever owned a bar, this is a good movie to have on just in the background of the bar, because you don't need any dialogue to understand what's going on. Well, you do, but the dialogue that they do have still doesn't help you understand what's going on. It's bad.
We haven't even talked about the whole subplot of like that guy selling moonshine to the arrest.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the clams, but like,
yeah.
And then the moonshine makes like farting noises and
very interesting noises, that moonshine. And also, like, he was in the jail.
Yeah, I don't know why.
He was locked up, and then there's like, the cops call him and say, oh, you've got to do this. And then he's like, you've got to make me a deputy first. And I'm like, fine, you're a deputy. And he just gets out of the jail. Like, who let him out? How did he get out?
It's a comedy. It's funny, man.
Yeah.
I've got a few final thoughts. Roscoe Wilton doesn't know that girls go to the bathroom, and thinks that kidnapping them is endearing, as this film would prove correct, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. She was into it.
Also, at the end of the film, they're both in the ocean with the sheriff, and they get like handcuffed or something. I can't really tell. The quality was really bad. And then they just put their arms around each other and they all laugh. And I'm like, you've murdered like several hundred people. And just for a bit of context, Ferris Bueller's Day Off came out only 5 years later than this film. And it feels like it came out maybe 100 years later because this film feels like the trashiest crap version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, even though it came out.
You were spot on. You were spot on. This is very much in that vein. And, maybe there was a bit of inspiration to John Hughes. John Hughes did Ferris Bueller's Day Off, yeah? Yeah. And so maybe he watched this and went, thinking that it was a sequel to Smokey and the Bandit. Found out it wasn't because this is crap, but I like where this is going.
I like an arrogant teen. That's what I want. More arrogant teens. James, you're at the candy bar. Once again, you've filled up on everything after Dust Boot.
Yep. Yes.
But now you're back for seconds and your everything ticket has expired.
Okay, so I have to have something else. Get me. I would like 1 million of those clams that you've had lying next to the cash registers for the last 20 days. And it's an outdoor drive-in cinema as well, so it's been in the sun.
Oh God, you don't want an outdoor drive-in cinema for Smokey Bites the Dust. All the cars will explode.
So give me 1 million stinky rotten clams.
1 million stinky rotten clams for Smokey Bites the Dust. This film is not good. I do not recommend it. Don't watch it.
It made Codename the Cleaner look like a masterpiece.
Yeah, like art.
Absolute art.
So that was Smokey Bites the Dust and Dust Boot. James, it's time for us to pick the film. Yeah.
My favorite part of the week.
Favorite part. We pick the year that we're going to do next.
A year. Choosing a year.
That's the Choosing a Year theme song.
That is.
Brought to you by James, Milkshake James, Jimmy Bennett, the first Jimador.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I go like this. I go a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a boop. 2017.
Oh.
2017. Fresh. Yep. Next year. Oh my God. It's a long time until the next podcast. Next week, we'll be looking at the films of 2017 to decide
that's
a good one and a bad one.
That's exciting because I think the quality of the bad one might be slightly better than the last couple.
2017. I feel good about that. James, what else have you been watching?
What else have I been watching? I've been watching, I watched a great Argentinian film the other day called Wild Tales, which is sort of a little, what's it called? It's like a whole bunch of short films in one. That was really good. Very, very dark, but very funny. That's all I can think of. I've been watching episodes of QI.
Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. What have you been watching? What have I been watching? It wasn't that recent, but we watched a film called Swallow, which is about a woman she's like a housewife, I guess, to this rich man, and then she gets this obsession to swallow like dangerous things like pins and stones and stuff, and it's a really good film. It's a really good film. It's a bit creepy. It's a bit horror. Well, it's a bit horror, but it's like unsettling and
sounds unsettling.
It's shot so well, and the costumes and the set design's really amazing. So I recommend it. Yeah.
Anything else I've been watching? No. Got an Xbox. No time for films.
No time for films.
No time for films. I'm now part of the film.
We're going to shift this to doing the best and worst games of every year. We'll start with chess and shit chess that came out the same year.
Chess. Yeah, there was chess, And then shit chess is just when both teams are black, and it's just get real confusing.
Yeah.
That's mine. It ends up being a fight.
Hands off.
Get your hands off my rook. Rook. I mean rook. Don't judge me, chess lovers.
Oh dear. Oh, chess fans, stay away. So that's Smokey Bites Dust and Dust Boot 2017. Next year, fresh. I've been Rich.
I've been James all day.
And that's Popcorn all week. Bye.